At the BC legislature for more, Rob, on top of everything else, the BC government bringing in a new budget today. What's in it and how does it address these new tariffs?
Stacey, a very weird budget. The finance minister delivering it on the day that the tariffs land, and yet there is no actual relief or support programs from BC in this budget on tariffs at all, other than the premier saying he hopes the federal government will use money from their counter tariffs to help British Columbians and businesses, and the province will step in to fill those gaps in the future. Finance Minister Brenda Bailey did have some new estimates on the economic impact of the U.S. move, a $1.4 billion annual hit to government revenues, a $5 billion annual hit to corporate profits, and a $43 billion hit to the economy, plus 45,000 lost jobs by 2029. All this casting a major cloud over not only BC's financial outlook, but the national and international financial picture as well. Here's the finance minister today.
The uncertainty that this president is bringing in is a feature, not a bug, and I do expect it to continue. And this budget was designed with that in mind, knowing that that uncertainty is at play and is likely to continue being at play. And the decision that we've made in that context is to support the services that British Columbians most depend on, while being very focused in our spending.
The new budget designed to keep spending to protect core services at a time of economic uncertainty, which means, yet again, spending beyond revenue. A new $10.9 billion deficit projection, the highest in British Columbia's history. $4 billion set aside in contingencies, partly to react to the Trump tariffs in the future, but also helping to negotiate new public sector contracts for teachers and nurses and more this spring. Around $2 billion in new spending. Here's a big list here, just to maintain the status quo of these things, not to address closures and crowding and waits in healthcare, or education, or social assistance, or children in care, just to maintain them. Here's some reaction from stakeholder groups to that today.
This is definitely a budget that missed the mark for BC small businesses. We recognize that this is a unprecedented time and that the government is in a difficult position, but the reality is that small businesses are looking ahead at a bleak economic future over the next few months without any targeted support offered to them.
Well, seniors are going to fall further behind. We have seen increases in funding for seniors programs, but at the same time, the number of seniors and the availability of those benefits and those services has decreased.
I think the forecasting to us was that, the budget was going to protect core services. I feel like, that's what we got.
I think it'll keep the services we have going, for sure, but the difficulty is we've talked for a long time about how there's not enough of those services. We're a shortage of teachers, EAs, across the board. So the services we have will keep going, but we don't think there are enough services.
The government did eliminate the $1,000 grocery rebate, but there are a few tiny new services and programs in today's budget. A promise of a $110 ICBC rebate in April, a boost to the rental assistance program worth up to $700 a month, an increase to the seniors shelter aid worth up to $337 a month, and $4.2 billion in all sorts of new capital spending on schools, hospitals, roads, bridges, way up because infrastructure spending doesn't count towards the deficit. Here's the opposition today.
And that pretty much sums up this tariff response in this budget. It's non-existent, Mr. Speaker. There is nothing in this budget around the tariff response of meaningful programs or supports or even possibilities.
So the most important part of this budget, that $4 billion contingency fund to give BC room to maneuver here with all the uncertainty on the horizon. You have a State of the Union address by the President tonight at 6. You have potential counter tariffs or some maybe deal tomorrow with the United States. On Sunday, we get a new Prime Minister and federal Liberal leader, and probably shortly after that, a federal election in Canada as well. So that $4 billion will probably come in handy as the province decides to navigate just the next few weeks and months on the horizon.